So how do you hold yourself accountable? What's a good writing day look like for you now?
So when I'm under contract, and there is definitely a difference in that what that day looks like. When I'm under contract, it looks something like the Tasmanian devil when he's so my, I don't think anybody wants to know what's up here. It's quite a mess. But I have learned to turn it on and off, and that sounds wonderful. It's not that wonderful because it usually takes me 20 minutes to drop myself into the story. I do a lot of rereading. So I always read whatever the last chapter that I wrote, and it helps me to kind of get in the mood and get my mind right. But it still takes 20, it can sometimes take up to 30 minutes before I actually feel the rhythm of the story return. And granted, my lunch hour is only an hour, so that's not always great. So, but when I'm under contract and I have to get those words done, it's just something, that I do until it becomes a little bit more rhythmic for me and until I'm less afraid of the blank pages in front of me. When I'm not under contract, I honestly tend to not write. What I've been doing lately, because I just turned in a manuscript, is I've been thinking of story pitches. Like I haven't necessarily wanted to start a new book because I need the break a little bit, but I've been doing story pitches, and that's been kind of fun and cool for me because it's allowing me to, form these characters. They're not as organic. I'm actually manufacturing them, which is not typically how I write, but it's interesting.
So are you, where on the spectrum of pantser versus plotter would you say that you fall?
100% pantser, 100%. I am so afraid of plotting. I don't know why, but it's something about having to write that out that never works quite as well for me, which is why sort of these story pitches it's interesting for me because it's as close as I've ever come to plotting out a book before. So yeah, I usually I don't know what's going to happen in the story until I'm finished. I never do.
You wrote all this so done without knowing where the ending was going to be?
I've never outlined a book. I have never plotted a book.
That's amazing to me. So how does how does that work? Do you just sit down? I've got a character. When do you start a story, and how do you know where to start if you don't know where you're going yet?
Well, all of my stories are very character driven. They're always about that person, their experience, their emotional growth. So it is very much about me knowing that person and getting to know that person as I'm writing them and who they're interacting with. I like to put all of I know that all of my characters, I know essentially what they want. Like with Mila, she wanted to move out of the cove. She wanted to move with her aunt and her older sister. So I knew that's what she wanted. The other things that I knew was that she had this alpha best friend who was a little pushy, and she was kind of tired of that. She wasn't, she was a little fearful of her own neighborhood, despite her father trying to help her understand that their circumstances caused, or other people's circumstances caused the neighborhood to have some of the strife that it did. So I knew that about her. And so then the rest of the story was about getting her, was she going to achieve her goal or not? And it was about the journey to that end of whether or not she was going to achieve her goal. But in the middle of that, there was Tay's story as well, and they were intermingled. So yeah, I just kind of, every chapter was about each of those characters and their goals and how they clashed or how they matched. And yeah.